Dave Whitfield could rewire a house's entire electrical panel in an afternoon and explain exactly what he was doing the whole time, slow enough that his kids could follow along from the doorway. He'd been doing it for 18 years, ever since he was younger than most of the apprentices he trained now. Saturday mornings, before anything else, he made pancakes shaped badly on purpose. Mia always got a lopsided star. Sam always got something that was supposed to be a dinosaur and never once looked like one, and both kids insisted every single week that this was exactly how it should look, syrup included, no substitutions. He was 43. Healthy, by every measure that ever came up at a doctor's visit. Careful with money in the way people are when they grew up without much of it, no car payment, a mortgage 2/3 paid off, a savings account he checked every Sunday night out of habit more than worry. Every year or so, usually around tax season, Karen would bring up life insurance, spreading the paperwork out on the kitchen table like she was building a case she already knew she'd lose. Every year, Dave had the same answer, delivered with the same easy confidence he brought to a breaker box, barely looking up from the TV. "We're healthy. We're careful. That's the best policy there is." He genuinely believed it, and Karen, most years, let it go, because arguing with a man who'd never once been wrong about anything mechanical in 18 years of marriage felt like a losing bet, and there was always, next year to bring it up again. Most people who skip life insurance aren't reckless. They're just working off a number in their head that was never actually accurate. Most Americans guess the cost of a policy at 6 to 12 times what it really costs, according to industry research, and Dave had never once gotten an actual quote to check his own guess against. He'd have been the first to admit, if you'd caught him on the right night, that he was mostly just guessing too. The Whitfields had 2 kids, Mia and Sam, 10 and 7, and a whiteboard on the fridge with a chore chart Dave updated every Saturday morning, the same handwriting, the same 2 columns, for years, right up until the one Saturday it stopped. He collapsed on a job site on a Tuesday in October. A heart condition nobody had ever caught, the kind that gives almost no warning before it gives none at all. He didn't come home that night, or any night after it. Karen doesn't remember most of the next 2 weeks in order. She remembers the funeral home handing her a price list before she'd even sat down, the paper still warm from the printer. Median cost for a burial with a viewing runs upward of $8,000 in this country, on top of whatever final medical bills had already arrived, before a single other expense of ordinary life even entered the conversation. She remembers being almost relieved, briefly, to learn Dave's employer carried a small group life policy automatically, no enrollment required, no premium ever noticed on a paycheck, until she learned exactly what it was actually worth. 1 times his annual salary. $68,000. It sounded like a number until she sat down with it next to the mortgage balance, 2 kids' worth of a future, and years of income that would simply no longer exist. She wrote the $68,000 at the top of a legal pad and started subtracting, the mortgage payoff first, most of the number gone in one line. Then what for years of Mia's braces would cost, guessed at. Then nothing. No line left for anything after that, not college, not a single year of the income Dave used to bring home without either of them ever having to think about it. The mortgage alone was worth more than the entire payout. Karen did that math sitting at the same kitchen table where Dave used to say the same 6 words every tax season, paperwork spread out in front of her the same way it used to be spread out in front of him, and understood, for the first time, exactly what those 6 words had actually been costing them the whole time, not because Dave had ever lied to her, but because neither of them had ever actually known the true price of being wrong. Dave wasn't careless. That's the part almost nobody says out loud about this. He did everything he thought responsible looked like. He just never ran the actual math, the way over 100 million Americans currently haven't, According to the same research, 42% of adults in this country either have no life insurance at all or know somewhere that what they have isn't enough, and keep meaning to fix it the exact way Dave kept meaning to, year after tax season, always next year. 3 weeks after the funeral, Karen found Sam sitting on the front step at exactly 5:40, the same time Dave's truck used to turn onto their street every single day for 18 years. He wasn't crying. He was just waiting, swinging his sneakers against the concrete, watching the corner the way he always had. Karen stood in the doorway for a full minute before she could make herself go sit down next to him. Neither of them said what they were actually doing out there. She didn't tell him to come inside. She just sat and waited with him until it got dark enough that even Sam stopped pretending the truck was still coming. Karen went back to full-time work for months later, at a job with worse hours than the part-time one she'd loved. Mia switched schools, closer to Karen's new commute, and stopped mentioning her old friends out loud after a while. Sam stopped sitting on the step, eventually, and started drawing dinosaurs instead, the same lopsided kind from the pancakes, taping them to the fridge next to the chore chart nobody had updated in weeks. Sam's 8th birthday landed that February. Dave had promised him, back in the fall, a party at the bowling place with the arcade attached, the good one across town, and Sam had told every kid in his class about it before Karen ever saw a price. She sat with the bowling alley's flyer in one hand and the checking account balance in her head, and made the call herself, quietly, before Sam got home from school, a cake at the kitchen table instead, for friends instead of the whole class, presents wrapped in paper from the drugstore instead of the store Sam liked. He didn't complain. He just asked, once, if Dad would have still done the bowling one, and Karen didn't have an answer that didn't feel like a lie either way. A friend of Karen's from the new job, a woman named Priscilla who'd lost her own husband 3 years earlier, was the one who finally said the thing nobody else had said yet, sitting across from Karen in a break room that smelled like burnt coffee. "This isn't a story about Dave doing something wrong," she said. "He loved you both the exact same way every single day of his life, and none of what happened changes that. It's a story about a gap that's sitting in almost every house on this block right now, waiting for a Tuesday nobody sees coming. I know, because it sat in mine too, for 11 years, until it didn't anymore. Most people who have it figure 5 to 10 times what they make is about right. Most people never actually check. I didn't either, until I had to." Karen asked her, quietly, how she'd gotten through the part where the number wasn't enough. Priscilla didn't have a clean answer. "You don't get through it," she said. "You just get a policy of your own, so your kids never have to learn this particular lesson twice in one family." Karen got her own policy 8 months later. Real coverage this time, priced out properly instead of guessed at, costing a fraction of what she'd have sworn it would before she actually asked for a number instead of assuming one. The agent who sold it to her mentioned, almost in passing, that this was the single most common thing he heard in his job, people who'd spent years assuming a price that had never once been checked against reality, right up until reality checked itself against them instead. That Saturday, for the first time since October, Karen made pancakes. She tried for the lopsided star, the same one Dave used to make for Mia, and it came out worse than any of his ever had, more of a blob than a star, one point collapsed in on itself. Mia looked at it a long moment, then ate it anyway, syrup and all, no substitutions, exactly the way she always insisted it should look. She still keeps the whiteboard on the fridge. She updates the chore chart herself now, same 2 columns, different handwriting, though she leaves a little space in the corner where Dave used to sign his initials next to the date, and some weeks she still almost writes his there instead of her own. Mia asked her once, a year or so after, why they never got the insurance sooner. Karen didn't have a tidy answer for that either. "Your dad thought he had time to get around to it," she said. Almost everybody thinks that. It's the one thing that's never actually true for anybody, and the hardest part is you never find out which year was the one that mattered. She tells people now, when it comes up, that the hardest part was never the number itself. It was learning the number existed at all, for months too late to do anything but live inside it, and deciding, quietly, that her own kids would never have to learn that particular lesson a second time.